Last one we'll get into. We'll knock two out at the same time. The Bills, the Bengals, they both survived. The Bills obviously won 34-31 against Skylar Thompson, whereas the Bengals survived against the Ravens. I think it was 24-17, and survive is really the right word there. That a Hail Mary bounce right off of a receiver's hands. The Ravens did. I think no doubt they would have gone for two, and then who knows. But the Bills are getting heavily criticized. Heavily criticized for their performance versus the Dolphins and a third string quarterback. And honestly, I don't get why Cincinnati isn't getting criticized more. Because it's a division game. Well, Bills Dolphins was too. Who are the big time weapons that the Ravens have? Who? Name one. Their weapon is Lamar Jackson, and he's been sitting on the sidelines. Sammy Watkins. I don't even know if Rashad Bateman played. I didn't see him. Mark Andrews, obviously. But, I didn't see a whole, Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, Josh Oliver, J.K. Dobbins, Demarcus Robinson. I mean, what are we doing? Again, they only gave up 17 points. But let me run through this. Think to yourself in your head. Oh, I don't have like a full screen or anything like that, but keep track. What would you rather have? Would you rather outgain your opponents by 192 yards? Or would you rather be outgained by 130 yards? You'd rather outgain your opponent, right? Would you rather have 9 more first downs than your opponent? 9 more? Or would you only rather have 5? Would you rather have 5 less first downs than your opponent? Would you rather have 2.5 more yards per play? Or would you rather have 1.2 yards less per play than your opponent? This is an easy one. Would you rather have 2 penalties for 13 yards or 7 penalties for 42? We're obviously taking the 2 penalties. And would you rather win time of possession by 4 or lose time of possession by 5 minutes? You'd take all the first stuff, wouldn't you? Because that's what the Bills did. And the other stuff is what the Bengals did. The Bills truly dominated that game. Josh Allen just turned the ball over. And if you want to get into a Josh Allen, forcing a turnover, or, him being a turnover machine, if you want to get into that argument, and that's why they're being criticized more, than sure, go on ahead. But I mean, the Bills played well. The Dolphins they didn't even get 304 or 240 yards of total offense on 15 drives. They held the Dolphins to 3.3 yards per play. Held a team who has a good rushing scheme, not necessarily a good rushing offense, but a good rushing scheme, to 42 yards on 20 attempts. Had them go 2 for 4 in the red zone. Again, they had the Bills on offense, had 423 yards. They were extremely efficient on third down, 9 for 16. They held the Dolphins to being 4 for 16 and then 1 for 2 on fourth down. They dominated this game, but some bad turnovers obviously cost them. Then you look at what the Bengals did. The Bengals got outplayed. They got outplayed and survived. They got outgained by 130 yards. I think I said 120 earlier. It's 130 yards. They got blown off the field and got a very lucky turnover. A very lucky turnover at the goal line when Tyler Huntley was trying to push the ball over the goal line. Why are we not criticizing the Bengals as much as we're criticizing the Bills? Why? The Bills are dealing with a lot of injuries. A lot of injuries. They're dealing with Micah Hyde being injured. They've been dealing with that for a while. Von Miller, their big offseason addition, he's out for the year. Why are we criticizing the Bills more than we're criticizing the Bengals? The Bengals haven't performed particularly well, in my opinion, in all of their playoff games. All of them. They have not performed particularly well either of the past 2 years in any of the playoff games. Kansas City aside. Kansas City, they played well. Sorry, I guess I shouldn't say all, but they weren't spectacular in their win against the Raiders last year. The Raiders had a chance at the goal line, first and goal, with however many seconds left to win that game. They had a chance. They didn't, but they had a chance. Then they got sacked 9 times. 9 times. You don't win games like that. You don't. Like, it's going to catch up to them. It is going to catch up to them. How bad the Bengals have been playing is going to catch up to them. He was only sacked 4 times against the Ravens, but that's still not great. It's still not great. And their offensive line isn't getting better. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. La'el Collins, out. Ted Karras played last night, but he was hurt. Jonah Williams, out. Or maybe not out, but he was walking on crutches. Like, and again, if you want to give him the injury excuse to as why they're not getting, criticized, but it's like, yeah, Jonah Williams dislocated his kneecap. What are we doing? Like, they are not playing well, and everyone's treating them like they're just going to, go on the same run that they did last year, when we all agreed, for the most part, that it was kind of a miracle run. Like, not saying that they're not a good team. I'm not calling them garbage. They're a top 3 team in the league. Top 4 team in the league, top 3 team in the AFC. The only teams who I think are probably better is Kansas City and Buffalo, and they have beaten Kansas City 3 times in 2022. They beat them 3 times in the calendar year 2022. So, like, I don't think that they're not a bad football team. They're not. But I definitely do think that the Bengals deserve to get a little bit more criticism. A little bit more criticism than they're currently getting. Because, when they beat a backup quarterback, they're just tough. They're tough. It's just a gritty AFC North battle. That's just how these things go. But when the Bills do it, and the Bills dominate their opponent, they're in the game because of some really stupid and some really dumb turnovers. It's pile on the Bills. These guys are frauds. Like, what are we doing? Truly, what are we doing?